Hi everyone, it's Friday, September the 27th, and for lack of better words, the weather's been dismal over the last week. And that means that harvest progress has essentially remained at a standstill. In fact, we spent most of this growing season with soils in a moisture deficit situation. However, with all of the rain over the last 2 weeks, areas including Steinbach are now sitting at about 125% of the annual accumulated rainfall amounts for this calendar date. That means that many fields are saturated, and it's making harvest impossible for the time being until we get a few days of drying weather in a row. On the bright side, we still haven't had that killing frost, and that's been fantastic news for the grain corn growers, as it's allowed these grain corn crops, especially where there's some delayed emergence issues, to strive towards physiological maturity. We've spent a lot of time over the last couple of days collecting grain corn samples from our PKPs, from Oak Bank to Otterburn to Turond, Kleefeld, Blumenort, and also here in our early PKP near New Bothwell. Right now, much of that mid-maturing corn is sitting between 32 and 36% moisture, and that means that it should reach physiological maturity over the next week. Some of the earlier products, including this new 7211 Acre Max, are already at physiological maturity and are now just starting to dry down. Currently in this location, it's sitting at about 29% moisture. We've had a lot of questions from growers about some mold developing in their ears over the last couple of weeks, and we'd like to address that. One thing to remember about mold is that it does require some sort of injury site to enter into those ears. We've seen a lot of options this year, from birds, stink bugs, sap beetles, and also some of the weather challenges that we've had with some areas receiving hail. What we're seeing mostly in the fields is Cladosporium ear rot. This black mold tends to be contained to individual burst kernels, especially towards the tips of the ear. However, it shouldn't spread and doesn't pose any mycotoxin risk. In some fields with a lot of corn borer damage, there could be some Fusarium or even Gibberella ear rots developing. These are going to be much fuzzier, kind of a whitish pink color, and could spread. This is where those mycotoxin risks are. However, with these crops reaching maturity, we're seeing a lot of those ears that are starting to droop down with loose husk covers, and that's going to really dry out that grain and prevent the spread of that disease. Next, we'll take a look at the silage progress. With all of this rain, only the most ambitious operators are currently out there harvesting corn silage. Some of the early silage varieties are now approaching that 65% moisture and should be taken off as soon as conditions allow. However, some of the later varieties, including 9330 Acre Max, are still between 70 and 75% moisture in most of the fields where we've tested. So that's going to take about another 2 weeks before it's ready for harvest. And of course, we'll see what effect the frost has on that once we get to that point. Really, not much more needs to be said about soybeans for this year. They're ready for us as soon as field conditions will allow for harvest. It also means that we'll be weighing soybeans, silage corn, and some early grain corn plots all at the same time. So please give us as much heads up as possible to weigh those side-by-side plots. It also means that we'll be too busy to make regular Tailgate Talks videos, so this will probably be the second last one for the year. Thanks again for watching us this year, and have a great weekend.